training regime of a professional downhill racer you might think involves lots of tedious miles on the road, lots of time in the gym, and only really using the downhill bike to develop skills. However, today's racer is actually using an e-mountain bike and also the knowledge of a trainer who knows how to utilize the e-mountain bike to its maximum potential. Alan Milway of Milway Performance has been coaching and training some of the best and most successful World Cup downhill racers for, crikey Alan, must be 15 years now, right?
Yeah, over 15 years.
But the e-mountain bike and the current breed of racers, who have you got and who's using them?
It's really good because, you know, this year Danny Hart's riding one, Greg Minnaar rides one, Charlie rides one, Joe rides one. The list is growing. And really it's because we can use it as a tool to develop skills in a slightly different way than the downhill bike. It keeps it fresh, but also because we've got the motor assistance, we don't have to have a big fatiguing ride. We can actually add a gym session onto the same day as the skills development session, which for me is a win-win.
And of course you ride your Husky.
I got a Husky, yeah.
So you ride your Husky during training and also at the events themselves, right?
Yeah, so this bike goes with me to all the World Cups, and it's a real asset because I have to be up and down the hill. I'm trying to film, line spot, access different parts of the track.
Get food,
get drink, exactly that. So I'm trying to kind of liaise with the riders. There's a lot of back and forth. And for me, it allows me, with this bike, I've got a long travel version. Getting down the side of these World Cup tracks is hard enough as it is. Yeah. So
I guess it's handy that some of your, I mean, actually, you talked about Danny Hart. I've done rides with Danny on his Cube. Obviously, Greg's got the Santa Cruz, and so is there a plan? What's the plan? Utilising that e-bike?
So we kind of try and keep it fluid. At different times of the year, like in the off season, it's a good chance to go out and have some fun on the bike. The downhill bike often goes away for a little bit. These boys have been riding it hard. And the funny thing is when they take the downhill bike back out the garage, the settings feel really alien because they've got harder and faster bikes because they've been racing. You come away from that and you've got the opportunity to try something new, access different trails, and also access trails with your friends. Yeah. And the e-bike allows a bigger group to go out.
That's it, and you haven't got to rely on on an uplift or an uplift road to the top. And I guess the bottom line is it's, bike skills are bike skills, aren't they?
Bike skills are bike skills. We see it with Danny rides the motocross bike, Joe rides his trials bike, and they're also bringing in the e-bike into that. And you're really good at this, you're way better than me, but going up hills too. So it's something
physical.
Do you see what I mean? Yeah, you can have some fun and you can find grip. And I think that understanding where grip is and understanding line choice, there's no better way to do it than to play. Yeah. And this is an opportunity. I look at training as being either very much race focused, or you're trying to learn something and you want to put yourself in an environment where you can enjoy it and not feel any pressure.
It's really important, isn't it?
Yeah, and these are great for that.
My question to you is, has the e-mountain bike now replaced the analog bike in terms of training?
It certainly hasn't replaced it. It's sort of found a place within the stable of bikes. So for me, the training rides, when you're really trying to work on interval-based stuff or high-intensity stuff, an analog trail bike, a road bike, they're brilliant tools. But where the e-bike comes in is, for example, a recovery ride, a really steady state ride. Traditionally, you'd be out on your road bike, really low heart rate. It could be quite boring. These boys want to have some fun.
Yeah.
And I can appreciate that. I'm a mountain biker. So I can understand if you've got a trail, you put it in trail or boost, you can spin up there, low heart rate, and then have some fun on the way back down.
Yeah. And what about the downhill part of the training? Obviously, what we've got here, like trail bikes. I mean, not every company does a downhill e-bike, but I guess the message is you're going to be able to get a high turnover of downhill runs done, aren't you?
I think this is, again, one of the biggest assets. You can go to a riding spot that isn't necessarily a downhill spot, but has got some really technical tracks, and you could probably do 10, 12. I went to Pontypool, I think I did 14 runs.
Pontypool.
That's not going to happen on a normal trail bike.
And I guess the good thing is, we've got this route section here. With an e-bike, you're not going to be pushing back up. You can just loop around and section things, can't you?
Well, using this section as an example, you've got two different entries here. You've got 3 clear lines.
Yeah.
Hey, let's spend an hour here and try different line choices. Let's see what happens if I go low. We can time it. You can have all sorts of fun. And on a trail bike, you're just pushing back up.
And you're using a lot of energy.
You're losing a lot of energy. And this also allows you, I think, to play a little bit more. It allows you to try something where you or I might have gone down here on a trail bike. Do you fancy pushing back up that? Not really.
Not on a wet day in Wales.
Not on a wet, cold day. But here we can spin back around and try something different. And that's where I think these open up so much more.
Al, you make this sound quite fun. Pros using an e-mountain bike, but surely there's got to be some hard graft in there somewhere, right?
Yeah, let's not pretend it's all sunshine and roses. There's a lot of work that goes into it, and for the downhill boys, like, they've got to work at very high heart rates, very high blood lactate, so it's like the acidity in your muscle as it was. So we do a lot of intervals in the gym on a watt bike, out on the road bike. But where I can use these is I can actually use these to keep up.
Right.
So we can go and do an interval session. I can be the hare, I can get them to chase me. But at the same time, just last summer, Joe Breeden actually did an interval session on his e-bike. He just had the motor and eco. And I sort of was a little bit skeptical to start with because we were on our road bikes, but the effort level and the numbers, they were the same. It just allowed him to use what he had and do a good job.
If we focus in on the weight, now, if we looked at some of the modern downhill bikes from, say, 2008, the Mondraker Summon, which is state of the art, £30, track session, it's £30 as well. But people such as Nico Vulio's, the most successful downhill racer, thinks that, a downhill bike should weigh around about 35, 36, which is a bit heavier. Now, I've ridden shorter travel e-bikes and downhill bikes in places such as San Romolo, where a lot of the pros go testing, and I find that I can go faster on a shorter travel, heavier e-bike than on a lighter, long travel downhill bike. Is there chat amongst the pros about weight and how important it is?
Yeah, it's weight and it's weight distribution. And you'll see on the Atherton bike, they've actually started putting some lead weight on the bottom of the down tube. It's used in other brands as well. And it's trying to centralize that weight and find where to put the weight. I think that when you ride an e-bike, you can gather momentum and you can feel the stability with a certain amount of weight. And I agree, I think there is a point at which you're very much trading stability, robustness for that little bit of weight, and it doesn't always help.
Yeah, it's funny because we're seeing the weights of e-mountain bikes come down. Some of the most the mid to light assist bikes now around 15 kilos, whereas a full suspension long travel downhill bike's not far off that as well. So they're kind of closing together, aren't they?
And what's next? Are we going to see because there isn't really a true downhill bike with a motor, and to me that could open up downhill access on other parts of a mountain.
Are you saying maybe like a World Cup downhill series on e-bikes?
I wonder. I don't.
It makes sense, right? I mean, we're confined to ski resorts. We're confined to places with uplift. We could go back to the likes of Cap Dye. We could do stuff like that.
Well, when I throw back to the early 2000s, I had a orange 224. I used to put a long seat post in it, and I used to wear a half-face helmet to allow me to access different parts of the mountain away from the lifts. You can see where I'm going with this. If you put a motor on that sort of bike.
What was the name of that car again that you uplifted this hill on?
Fiat Scudo. I had a little Fiat Scudo, 1.9, no turbo on it though, so it was a bit of a drag around there.
How times have changed. You're probably on a bike there, which is probably 4 times the price of that Scudo.
Yeah, it probably is, isn't it?
I guess at the end of the day, though, Al, I guess there's a logistical side to this as well, because the World Cup is worldwide. There must be some problems for some racers to be able to take their e-mountain bikes to all the races. So I'm guessing, like, not all the pros take their bikes to the races, right?
That is one of the hardest things. Really, you need it on the truck. I know that Jackson Goldstone, he actually flew a bike without the battery, so he had a battery in Europe for him so he could use the bike. And for myself, I wish I could take it on the plane and fly, but I'm taking it in a van and driving because as I weigh it up, I still need that bike at the race. So I prefer to drive there to have the bike. rather than fly and not have it.
Yeah. So say that I'm guessing that the e-bike will be at certain events. What will the racers use the e-bike during the event at any time?
Absolutely. As soon as we arrive, we always try and spin our legs off. And when you're in a mountainous resort, you're not always getting a flat road. No. So it really gives you,
right, yeah.
So it allows us to go and spin the legs and keep the heart rate low. After practice as well, we always spin down and then we normally go and sit in the river or some cold water therapy. And so we can access wherever we need to go. And also it allows, at one of the World Cups, I remember I was with Greg and I was also with his fiancée. She could sort of come along and we could do what we needed to do and catch up and spin our legs.
Yeah.
And it sort of lowers that barrier of entry. We can all be there together doing the same thing.
Yeah, cool. So I guess one final thing, I suppose you think we will see more pros with e-bikes, both pre-season and during the season in the future?
I think so. And I think it lets them test things out. We were even talking about crank length earlier.
We were.
Playing with the idea of shorter cranks. We could go and do 10, 12 runs.
Yeah.
Get a really good feel for it and then suggest, well, maybe we put it on the downhill bike, maybe we try this, maybe we try that. I think it's a good test bed.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Al, thanks so much for giving us an insight into the world of a pro trainer and racer, and it fills me with joy to see everyone using the e-bikes, and also I think we can do a few more runs in the year than you used to do on your Scudo 20 years ago.
Oh, fantastic.
Any questions, folks? If you get any questions for Alan, it's middleweight performance, I do believe.
Yeah.
Or leave some questions in the comments down below. Thanks for watching.